Next session started. Please just take the conversation outside. You have to get the next.
is being recorded and will be made available on our LinkedIn page, oecd.ai. Today's discussion also builds on the work of the India AI Impact Summit Working Group on Economic Growth and Social Good, which was co-chaired by India, the Netherlands, and Indonesia, as you'll see reflected on the panel. And together with our distinguished panelists, we'll explore how artificial intelligence can support the transition towards food systems that are more transparent, responsible, and inclusive. So this session is bringing together leaders from government, industry, academia, and international organizations to examine both the opportunities and the practical challenges ahead, from data sharing and infrastructure to governance frameworks, and the partnerships needed to ensure that AI benefits are broadly shared. And before we begin the panel discussion, it's my honor to invite His Excellency, Ambassador Faure, Ambassador at Large and Special Envoy for AI of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, who will deliver welcome remarks. Welcome, Ambassador.
Thank you, Sarah. Is this working? Yeah. Thank you all for sharing this wonderful moment for me, because we're here with Madam Gorshan and Admiral Sumari from Indonesia. Together we formed the chair and co-chair of the 6th Working Group on Economic Growth and Social Good in preparation for the summit. And I just wanted to say how much I was impressed with you, Madam Gorshan, how you managed the working group and how the outcomes were drafted and delivered, especially also delivered in the plenary. It's not up to me, but I say well done. Really great. But thank you very much. It was really a wonderful journey with you. So, ladies and gentlemen, the use of digitalization and artificial intelligence in agriculture is developing rapidly. It offers enormous opportunities to increase the productivity and sustainability of local food production, improve nature conservation, and to foster climate resilience in an inclusive and sustainable way. It also contributes to the autonomy and stability of countries. For the Netherlands, strengthening global food security is a strategic priority. Reliable, sustainable, and affordable food systems are essential for societal stability, economic development, and particularly in vulnerable regions. The ambitions in our digitalization agenda for agriculture, nature conservation, and food are to connect digitalization to the transition of agriculture, needed for more food security, reduction of environmental impact, and climate resilience via public and private investments. Our prime focus on increasing productivity with lower environmental impact and improving climate adaptation, strengthening the resilience of food systems through responsible use of AI and digital technology. Concerning today's topic, the Dutch ambition is to enhance food security while making food systems more resilient and sustainable for all stakeholders. In my vision, digitization and AI are powerful tools for that. They have already proven that they can significantly increase food productivity and reduce food losses. In addition, AI solutions can enhance the efficiency and resilience of food systems by supporting farmers to respond to sustainability requirements, make risk assessments, implement sustainable farming practices, and enable them to provide trustworthy and quality data sets about those efforts to be shared throughout the supply chain. The Netherlands has a strong AI ecosystem, thanks to our technical universities and companies like ASML, NXP, and Philips. Despite its relatively small size, the Netherlands is not only a huge trader in agricultural produce, but also a global key player in agro-innovation and technology development due to the interaction between plant and animal science and technological knowledge systems in the Netherlands. Companies, science, and government invest mutually in solutions for societal challenges. Examples include precision farming with AI, such as water savings of up to 90% through smart irrigation, optimal crop yields with minimal input, and predictive models for disease control. To support digitalization in the agricultural sector in low and middle income countries, the Netherlands facilitates Dutch ICT agribusinesses to collaborate with businesses and startups there. And as you are aware, in the Netherlands, the strong ICT ecosystem and highly innovative agricultural ecosystems come together. ICT agricultural solutions combine the in-depth agricultural knowledge and advanced technology development in my country. Examples are applications for early warning of pests and diseases, optimization of water use, and optimized plant breeding processes. Dutch companies and knowledge institutions are open to co-work on tailor-made solutions. Every country has its own typical local challenges and requires tailor-made solutions. Today, special attention will be drawn to AI-powered solutions for small farmers and SMEs in producing countries in order to enhance their access to global agricultural supply chains while protecting their data. Our goal is to work together on this through knowledge sharing, co-creation and capacity building so that AI solutions are locally relevant, inclusive and accessible to farmers. The need for an inclusive AI has also been central to our discussions in the working group of economic growth and social good leading up to the summit. It fits well the summit motto, people, planet and progress. So I would like to thank India for its leadership in focusing on an inclusive AI future and underline that the Netherlands stands ready to contribute by forging concrete partnerships, sharing knowledge and technology while striving for measurable results in order to ensure that AI serves all of humanity. And I recall the Honourable Prime Minister's speech in plenary, to which he alluded as well. So ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to organize this important event together with the OECD, the go-to organization when it comes to AI governance, and to discuss the opportunities for international knowledge sharing and cooperation with FAO, the Wageningen University in the Netherlands, and the distinguished co-chairs of the Working Group on Economic Growth and Social Good, India and Indonesia. We warmly thank India for hosting this summit and look forward to continuing and strengthening our cooperation in the field of AI and agriculture, both bilaterally and within the Global Partnership on AI. We also thank our co-chair Indonesia for continued cooperation, and we would like to highlight our appreciation and firm support of Indonesia's ambition to join the OECD and its commitment to global standards and evidence-based policymaking. International knowledge sharing and cooperation is needed to accelerate the development and application of new technologies. With the help of trustworthy AI, having AI and agricultural ecosystems on the agenda in this important AI summit is extremely valuable and a step forward in order to make a positive impact for all stakeholders. I wish you a fruitful meeting and look forward to our conclusions, and thank you for this opportunity to address you. So the floor is now Sarah.
Thank you, Ambassador. And on behalf of the OECD, I just want to thank once again the Netherlands for the leadership in convening this timely discussion. And as was just reflected in the Ambassador's remarks, the Netherlands is obviously a pioneer in advancing food and agriculture innovation. And we are so delighted to have them as co-chair as well of the OECD FAO Advisory Group on Responsible Agricultural Supply Chains. From the OECD's perspective, we clearly see this dynamic of agriculture and food systems today operating in an increasingly volatile environment. And farmers face a wide variety of shocks, from droughts, floods, pests, to conflicts and economic crises, with growing frequency and severity. And so therefore strengthening resilience while also ensuring inclusion, as was also stressed by Ambassador Ferré, is really an urgent global priority that I hope we can talk about today. AI in this regard offers significant potential. We're seeing AI systems and tools being applied to optimize the use of critical resources, as was already mentioned, such as water, fertilizer, and pesticides, and also to reduce environmental pressure while enhancing productivity. The OECD and GPAI, which also met today in a ministerial session, have been examining AI use cases in agriculture with a focus on the EU and on Southeast Asia, and we continue these dialogues. And what we're seeing there is that the evidence from real-world deployment is really, really promising. So for example, AI-enabled precision spraying has reduced pesticide use by up to 30%, and this is actually without compromising yields. while computer vision green on brown systems can cut herbicide use by up to half by targeting only the weeds that require the treatment and thus not the crops. And in addition, we're seeing how forecasting, monitoring, and early detection of climatic and biological threats means that AI systems can strengthen our capacity to respond to crises before they even escalate, so some degree of preemption. AI is also revolutionizing agricultural innovation itself and supporting more efficient plant breeding that can develop climate-adaptive variety in a fraction of the traditional time. And here we also have some interesting data seeing in Central Europe that researchers have identified drought-tolerant traits in crops such as sorghum and chickpea that boost yields by up to 25% during end-season droughts. And in Asia, meanwhile, we're also seeing global AI hybrid rice platform demonstrating how AI can shorten breeding cycles by predicting optimal parent combinations and enhancing resilience in one of the world's most vital staple crops. Beyond the farm gate, AI is also reinforcing the resilience of our entire food supply chains. And AI-enabled traceability, market transparency, and smart logistics can reduce losses, improve compliance, and strengthen food safety systems. Evidence from these digital traceability initiatives across the OECD members demonstrates a growing maturity of exactly these systems, so something really to look out for. But technology alone, as we know, does not ensure impact, and so adoption is where we're really looking now, and that remains quite uneven still. And this is obviously why we're all here in Delhi. So while we're seeing in Australia that 96% of farmers are using digital tools, the same number for Chile is just 12%. And this is highlighting a digital divide that could deepen existing inequalities if we don't look to address it. There's also important challenges in the use of AI, and this goes back to sort of the core work of the OECD, looking not just at the benefits, but also the challenges associated with AI. Farmers and regulators need transparency in how AI systems make their decisions. But at the same time, fragmented data governance frameworks introduce complexity to the use of AI tools that support the trade, traceability, and resilient food supply chains across the border. And this highlights the need for greater interoperability, which is also a theme at this summit. So structural barriers, including high costs, limited digital skills, and lack of trust are some of the things that continue to slow the uptake of AI. So bridging these gaps, which should be a priority for all of us, requires investment in connectivity and other digital infrastructure, in skills and affordable solutions, so smallholders, women, farmers in remote areas who play a critical role in enhancing global food security, they're able to also benefit from AI's potential. And farmers must be able that their data is collected, shared, and used responsibly. So in this area, the OECD is working to help countries put in place policies that promote these objectives through an AI policy toolkit. And this toolkit will provide practical, context-specific guidance to countries. The toolkit builds on our policy navigator. If you haven't already visited it, it's on oecd.ai. And it so far covers more than 2,000 policies across 80 jurisdictions. So this is where you can find examples of national AI strategies, but also in specific sectors. And we continue to update this. And for anyone in this room representing a country not represented, we encourage you to visit and to also contribute your policies. We're also advancing work on digital governance in agriculture. This is within GPAY that I mentioned earlier, a priority there, where we examine governance models across countries and their applications for responsible digital transformation more broadly. We also see strong complementarities with the Global AI Impact Commons, which is a key deliverable of this summit, and which shares concrete use cases of AI with known impact and scaling potential. So for the OECD, advancing trustworthy AI consistent with our OECD AI principles requires a strong enabling ecosystem alongside technological progress. And what we're seeing is that if we succeed, we're really in a position to raise productivity, sustainably and also strengthen resilience in agricultural supply chains, including by ensuring that the benefits of innovation are widely shared and existing divides are not deepened in the process. So I really look forward to this panel's insights to help us take this conversation forward, looking at practical pathways to achieve this vision. And with this, it's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed panel. Many have traveled far to be here. So first, I would like to introduce Professor Arvind Sumari, who's an Indonesian Air Force officer and professor at the State Polytechnic of Malang. Welcome. And also we have with us, next to Professor Sumari, we have Mr. Dejan Jakovljević. He's Chief Information Officer and Director of Digital FAO and Agroinformatics Division at FAO of the United Nations, based in Rome. We also have with us today the pleasure of having Debjani Ghosh, Ms. Debjani Ghosh, Distinguished Fellow and Chief Architect of NITI Frontier Tech Hub. And finally, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Arun Pratihast, Senior Researcher at Wageningen University Environmental Research. So welcome to this session, and what we will see today is each of our speakers bringing a unique perspective on how AI can help build food systems that are resilient and inclusive, which is the topic of the session. And after the panel discussion, I'll also be giving the floor to anyone in the room who might have questions. So now let's begin. I'll hand the floor over to Dejan, who will set the scene for the conversation. Dejan, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and I would like to welcome everyone on behalf of the Food and Agriculture Organization. I thank you to our hosts here at the summit from India, but also OECD and the government of the Netherlands ambassador. Thank you. When we look at agri-food, I heard in the interventions before about the agriculture and the food. We look at agri-food systems from the FAO perspective. Why? Because the food itself, if we look at the agriculture, food is one product, but not only one. So there is a whole ecosystem behind agriculture of products that are not necessarily food. And they're equally important when we make considerations, when we look at, for example, at the water use, transport, and many others. So from agri-food systems perspective, AI brings us fantastic opportunities. And if we look at our topic today in terms of inclusiveness and resilience, inclusiveness is still a big issue. If we just think back maybe 2-3 years, before let's say, ChatGPT came out, the inclusiveness and the digital divide was still strong and present. And the key issue is that it used to be possible to exist outside of the digital ecosystem. We all know we could maybe go to the bank, but nowadays it's not. So if a farmer or communities are outside of the digital ecosystem, they suddenly are outside of any ecosystem almost. And now with the AI, it makes it even worse. So this is something we need to continue to press on and jointly in making sure that everybody has equal opportunity within the digital ecosystems. And on the positive, let's say, note on the AI, when it comes to inclusiveness, we see very encouraging opportunities with AI. What I mean by that is we can, in fact, lower the entry barrier to knowledge. Just 2 days ago, I've seen here actually at this opportunity at the event, great advancements, the new tool that was produced by government of India, where farmers can, with a phone call, as not everybody has a smartphone, can get advisory in the area of agriculture, from shrimp cultivation to pest diseases and similar. So this is great. The service can be in many languages. So this is a fantastic opportunity example where AI can help us actually lower the entry point to the AI. In the same time, for governments, it's even more so difficult to have the capacity to build the AI infrastructure to provide such services. So this is again, I think, one area, and forums like this help us consider what it takes to build it. When we look at the resilience specifically, I was very happy to hear in the previous openings you mentioned resilience in terms of, and from Ambassador we heard on anticipation. So I would say this is the key word. The key word is anticipation. So anticipate the shocks to the agri-food systems that impacts the food security. We know we have natural disasters. We know we have also conflicts. We have many different factors that impact agri-food systems. So building the systems that are capable of absorbing the shocks of these situations and anticipatory actions to when the shocks happen, what can be done to kind of go over these shocks. So this is where AI can be a great enabler, where we can then, with new capabilities, anticipate these shocks and with the help of data and our joint work really put together decision-making tools, anticipatory tools, situation rooms to be able to quickly not only anticipate, but when something happens, we don't really improvise, but we have tools in hand to address these situations. We still have about 700 million people without food on the table today. So from this perspective at FAO, and I'm sure we share the same sense of urgency to actually do something. So I wanted to say from this perspective, we are very grateful to be part of this conversation and work together in finding the new solutions. So I thank you for that, and I'm looking forward to our panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Dejan, for framing both the urgency and the opportunity before us. Now let me turn to Professor Sumari. Indonesia served as co-chair of the Summit Working Group on Economic Growth and Social Good alongside India, of course, and the Netherlands. But you also lead the Cognitive Artificial Intelligence Research Group and are the co-inventor of the Knowledge Growing System, a cognitive artificial intelligence framework designed to enable adaptive and evolving decision-making. So from Indonesia's vantage point, we'd be interested to hear where you see the most significant AI capability gaps across the agricultural system, and where you see the greatest opportunities at the same time for AI to make food supply chains more efficient and resilient, something we also heard as a priority. And we also know that Indonesia is one of the countries advancing an ambitious AI agenda. So if you could briefly outline also the key pillars of Indonesia's AI roadmap, this is of interest, and to explain how you are balancing horizontal AI governance with more sector-specific regulation in agriculture. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Firstly, I would like to deliver my appreciation and congratulations to the host, India, and also my chair, Ms. Gos, also my dear colleagues from Netherlands, Ambassador Harry Pasveer for co-chairing our working group together, and also other speakers. And Sarah, thank you, and our audience. Regarding your question about the artificial intelligence for Indonesia, as we already know together that Indonesia is not only the agriculture but also maritime nation. We were self-sufficient in rice about 20, 30 years ago, and then it wasn't AI for making our country had self-sufficient in rice, but now with AI, it is something that that can make our program to become a self-sufficient country in rice can be achieved. And we are much aware that the AI technology is developing very fast, not only in America or Europe, but also in Asia, especially in Indonesia. And its rapid and democratic application across all agricultural potential areas present significant challenges, especially given their potential location, which are separated by ocean. And you already know that Indonesia has 17,000 islands and separated by ocean. We only have 36% of land, 64 of waters, and 100 air. We have, and this is a challenge for us. If you don't believe me, you can count the numbers of our island through the map. Okay, and we yes, and we also have another challenge. We are living above the ring of fire. There's also other challenges for our people of Indonesia, and as I mentioned previously, that this gap is further widened by lack of democratically supporting AI infrastructure, such as telecommunication. We have 3 different times region, the west region, central region, and eastern region, and each one has different 1 hour, one to another. And also, there is a problem with unequal distribution of AI talent. I think the problem is not only in Indonesia, but also all over the world. In terms of the biggest opportunities for utilizing AI in the food supply chain, especially in agriculture country like Indonesia, we have some efforts to do, such as we can use AI for prediction of soil condition and nutrition before opening new land for agriculture. Our president has a program to open almost 1 million hectares of new rice fields, 1,000 hectares in some big island of Indonesia, in order to get the self-sufficiency in the next 5 years. Yeah. And then we also use the AI for prediction of the most appropriate food crops given the soil condition and nutrition of existing agricultural land. We have 7,000 islands, and each island has different soil condition, different soil nutrition, and you can use AI to predict what kind of nutrition, what kind of vitamin that belong to that soil. So we can predict the proper crops, the proper plant that have to be planted in that we see planting in that area. And the second one about optimizing the most optimal fertilizer content to produce the best harvest result, as well as optimizing the volume of water required according to the type of fertilizer given. Some of my students, they did some experiment how to predict the percentage of fertilizer combined together to get the most optimum production of any kind of crops, even it is corn, rice, or sweet potato, something like that. And then we also can use AI for intelligent farming. We don't say smart farming. Smart is not really intelligent. Intelligent is different. There is something that there is a knowledge that has to be grown in the system. So it's as intelligent farming, just like a human, they grow their knowledge within their brain. By optimizing the seed planting in the land so that plants can grow and develop healthily to produce the best products, to optimization of the harvest process until delivery to logistic warehouses. So it's just an end-to-end mechanism. And then we also can predict the weather dynamics, just as Sarah said about the flood and something like that. So we can predict the weather dynamics to obtain the right condition for planting seed and reducing the level of crop failures. The crop failures that often happens if the farmer they fail to predict what kind of pest, what kind of what the type of the soil and everything. And then the last one, optimizing the logistic transportation routes, to reduce the operational and other unnecessary costs. You can count how much operational cost to deliver the crops production from one island to another island in Indonesia. The price in the eastern area can be double or triple times in eastern area. So if we buy rice in eastern area only $1, it can be $5-6 in eastern area. So that's why we need AI to optimize the transportation and logistic transportation routes, whether it is from water, from the ocean or sea, and also from the air. Regarding the policy and regulation, you asked about the AI roadmap, right? AI roadmap, and then the about the how to balancing the horizontal AI governments with sector specific agriculture, right? Yeah, we are proud. Indonesia is proud to be a leader in our region, exploring how AI policy and regulation can be powerful tools for promoting trustworthy AI, especially in critical verticals like the agricultural sector. Agriculture is very important to Indonesia because most of the people of Indonesia, they are farmers, not only in Java Island but also in other big islands in Indonesia. If you see, there are 5 big islands in Indonesia, from western area like Sumatra, and then Java, and the southern area we have Borneo in the central, also Sulawesi or Celebes, and then the biggest one in the eastern area is Papua Islands, the biggest area. And still have so much area that can be explored to become rice fields. And our national AI roadmap is not merely a technological blueprint. It is a strategic framework designed to create an ecosystem that harnesses AI for inclusive and resilient system, including food system. So there are 2 keywords in here: inclusive and resilient. Inclusive means it must be transparent. AI must be transparent. AI must be explainable. And we've been having problem with the neural network based system that are the black box, cannot be explained in plain. And then the second one is resilient. This is very important for agriculture based nation. So the implementation of AI needs a strong and sustainable national ecosystem, like my dear colleagues, Ambassador first mentioned about ecosystem. The AI cannot be implemented, cannot be applied without a strong and sustainable ecosystem that collaborate all stakeholders, not only government, but also business, industries, communities, media, and also academia. So we have a concept of helix. Maybe you ever heard about quad helix, 5 helix, 6 helix. That's very important. So when we are developing the AI national roadmap in the government, in this case is Ministry of Digital and Information Communication and Digital Affairs, is open a voluntary contribution from all stakeholders, not only the government, but also from industry, academia, media, and communities. So our roadmap has 7 pillars that include AI regulation, AI ethics, that's important. The third one is investment, like this was mentioned before about financing. When I was attending the U.S. forum in AI export, they mentioned about financing. Financing is very important. Without that, there is no AI ecosystem. Financing and investment, yes. And then the fourth about AI infrastructure data, the fifth one AI research innovation, and then the next one AI talent development. The last one is AI use case. So because we embrace all stakeholders, so we assure there is no one left behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, and we can come back to those in more detail later, perhaps in the Q&A, but I really want to thank you for sharing the promising use cases from Indonesia, very instructive, I think, for this discussion. And now I would like to turn over, you talked about the Helix and how we work together to have the industry perspective from Ms. Ghosh. India, as we mentioned, also co-chairs the Summit Working Group. And so I'd be interested to hear now that we're seeing AI as quickly becoming foundational to agricultural productivity and food security. But the big question now is whether, as we mentioned, it will deepen inequalities or indeed democratize the opportunity. So from your vantage point, Ms. Ghosh, what practical steps are needed to broaden access to AI capabilities so that emerging economies and smallholder farmers can also benefit and fully participate? And as adoption accelerates, hopefully broadly, how should public-private partnerships evolve to scale responsible AI deployment and prevent the AI divide? Thank you.
It's a very long question. I'll try and keep my answer very short. But before I do that, I have to acknowledge the presence of, But before I do that, I have to acknowledge the presence of, I think, one of the biggest experts in this field of agriculture in this room, Professor Ramesh Chand, who's also a very esteemed member of Niti Aayog. And I requested him not to come for this session. And I said, I'm going to be too expert if you say, too nervous if you're going to be sitting right in front of me. But yeah, let's see if we live up to his expectations or not. You know, the biggest problem with AI today is that we throw AI at every problem that exists. And we expect that something will happen out of it, right? And as a result, we generalize the technology a bit too much. See, the thing with AI is, if you really want to unlock the technology, you have to know what exactly are you solving for, what problems. And then you have to go deep. Because there are so much that has to come together for AI to work. For example, is the data in place? How good is the quality? Is the ecosystem in place? So capabilities in place. So AI requires investments. And AI is a pretty deep investment overall, right? So it's very important to understand what problems do you want to solve with AI. And I think that's one of the biggest issues today because we are not taking the time to think through it. We keep saying AI as the magical word for everything, right? So now let's look at the food system. And I hope I'm correct, Professor Chand. I've learned this a bit from you also. But I think the biggest issue today is while the world is producing enough food to feed, I think, 8 billion people, but there are still millions and millions who are hungry. So there's a paradox. And I think when you start breaking it down further to understand the exact problems as to why this exists, distribution, the entire access to food, do you have access to food? So there's surplus and there's deficiency, and then you don't have a bridge to ensure that there's distribution happening at real time that is needed. And what this results in is tremendous amount of food shortage. Food wastage, right? And some of the culprits, when we think of it, of course, geopolitical, so wars are a big culprit, conflicts are a big culprit, but climate is another big culprit, right? So this is how you sort of, at least how because I look at everything from a tech lens, I'm by no means an expert in the domain, but when I look at it from a technology lens and I say, how do I best apply the technology to this problem? This is the domain that we have to play with. So now when you look at it, if I have to say, where do I want to go deep? The problem to solve for, at least when I look at all of this, is the biggest problem to solve for in the food supply chain, according to me right now, just purely looking at it from a tech lens, is the wastage. How do I bring down food wastage? What role can AI play to bring down food wastage? So then you start looking at logistics, you start looking at supply, the cold chains that exist globally or not. You start looking at trade, you start looking at geopolitical agreements, because all of that will come into mind, right? Now, in terms of industry coming together to solve for AI, again, if you want the best out of industry, you have to ensure that there is alignment on the problem statement you'll want to solve. Otherwise, everyone will come and everyone will do the same pilot everywhere. That's what's happening today. When you look at AI executions around India and around the world, and because of the AI commons that we have built, every country is trying out the same thing, farmer advisory, right? Every country is trying it out, but why is it not scaling? Why are we not solving for other problems? So again, it's very important to identify what is the problem statement. How do you ensure that when industry gets involved, there is a route to market and there is route to commercialization, because that becomes very important for industry. And one of the things that we advocate is coming up with maybe a center of excellence, a center of innovation that is identified to solve specific problems. I think one of the problems today we have with COEs are you have AI COEs, you have blockchain COEs. I really don't understand what that means. But what if we had a COE to say that how do we ensure that the cold chain problem is solved across the country? How do we have a COE that ensures that climate resilient crops in XYZ areas can be grown, right? And then bringing the industry together to say that how do we collaborate to create, I think gives you the right kind of outcomes.
Thank you very much, Mishkosh. And this is a perfect segue, I think, to our next speaker, turning to the research community and how to really bridge research into advanced AI to more practical tools. So Dr. Pratyahast, I would like to turn to you now for some examples of how these advanced AI tools can really be made to good use in more low-tech farming environments. And maybe you can give us some concrete examples, what distinguishes those who succeed from those who don't. Maybe speaking also to some of the points that Ms. Ghosh raised. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for invitation. It's very timely discussion. And of course, always when we talk about AI, we often talk about the technology, how fast the model are, how big the data set they can handle, what is the parameters, that we always talk. But if you think about the food system, and Ms. Ghosh clearly mentioned that, food system have different layers. And bottom of this layer is basically a smallholder farmers. And that farmer operate in a different environment. If you look at it last year, there's billions of euro investment has been done in the tech industry to build more models. Is the same thing happen to the smallholder farmers? No. So there is a problem that what we want to solve in the server room or computer, it doesn't work in the field. So we really need to think how the AI or model which we are really developing that is applicable to the grassroots level. And so within the Wageningen and personally, I have been working in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And one of the problems, basically, there is 3 problems we are facing in this whole AI domain nowadays. First is really data scarcity. Still, there is not enough data. The data is not shared. As you mentioned, there is no ecosystem. There is no fair infrastructure where data can be shared. And that hinders the model. The model works in a global scale, but when you want to work in the local scale, it doesn't work. It doesn't provide the edge input that is expected for the smallholder farmers. Second is the trust. Often, the farmers doesn't own, and then, of course, the model and the farmer's expectation is different, and then there's often not much trust how to apply this in the local level. That's why most of this advisory is failed. Farmer doesn't follow the advisory because it doesn't make sense. And then third thing is scalability. Often we think that scale is not only the technical scale. Like you process something fast doesn't mean that it can apply the same way. So we need to really think differently. And that's why, like we started, I give you a couple of 3 concrete examples. One example about the food security. We need to understand what is the map. where are the crops? There is no global map that is accurate enough. So with the help of European Space Agency, 4 years ago, we started the World Cereal Project, where we try to map the global croplands. Still, the maps are not perfect, because India, China, many countries, they don't share their data. So there is no data, and if there is no data, we have fantastic model. We have built very nice geo-embedding with NASA Harvest, but applicability of this model is still very low in this country. Second thing is about the high-tech solution in low-tech environment. For example, chocolate industry, cocoa, agroforestry is really suffering from the climate change. And we have established many advisory services, but not from the researcher or tech perspective, but engaging farmer perspective. And that works. We build basically chatbot with their language that really understand what they need and how we can translate their problem. They know which diseases are coming. So we are using computer vision from their lens, and then we are training. And that works. So there are a couple of things which we really see, that if you really want to make these things working, you need to make sure that these solutions should work in low-tech environment. Most of the things, people, connectivity has gone up. People are on social media, but still data is not there. Data infrastructure is not there. And always tech industry, or like we as a modeler, whatever we call, so we see always data as the input and output. Data should be as the infrastructure. We should engage farmers in that infrastructure, and then only we can achieve the impact.
Thank you very much. And I think with this, we're coming to a close on time. I think maybe the speakers can be kind enough to stay a little bit after if there are questions. We won't have much time for Q&A. But just to thank you all for really providing a diverse set of perspectives, for the timely discussions, to the ambassador of the Netherlands for framing this important discussion. And I think some of the key takeaways perhaps is that there is vast potential, and we saw the Indonesian perspective of all these very concrete examples. Also Dejan talking about potential for anticipatory action, and we heard about this global and even domestic paradox of food insecurity, when there really is enough food, but it may not be distributed enough or properly. And also I think importantly that to have impact with AI, we need to make sure that it is problem-driven, that it is driven by the local context and the farmers who need to use it. And maybe lastly, a very important point, which is exactly core to the work we do at the OECD, that to drive this adoption, we also need to ensure that there is trust in what is produced. And this requires obviously a number of factors such as explainability and transparency and so on, and also responsible data collection. But just with that, let me thank the panelists for their rich inputs. Please do stick around a little bit for some question, maybe in the margin. And thanks again to the Kingdom of the Netherlands for co-hosting this event with the OECD. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and sharing your thoughtful views on transforming agriculture. On the behalf of Impact Summit team, we would like to offer a souvenir. Thank you so much. How do I send you the picture? Yes.
We are going to have a picture.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll email it to you.